and he is with us now. Paul, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good, thanks. Good.
Let's start with that. The thing that I've just mentioned there, Roy Keane, not overly impressed with Aston Villa celebrations, but I'm sure you'll forgive them for a pretty big night last night after surviving by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, I can understand Roy Keane. Obviously, he's a serial winner. He's won everything in the game. He's never really been in that position. But they've underachieved Villa, of course, there with the amount of money they spent. But to stay up at the same time, you've got to celebrate that. You've got to. I mean, let's be honest. They're not going to win the Premier League, are they?
No.
They're a team that, if they stay up, it's a job done, and that's what they've done, and they celebrate that like Liverpool winning the league. It's exactly the same for Aston Villa. They just come up from another league, from the Championship. Spent a lot of money, but didn't spend the money wisely. And, their aim is to stay in the league, and, why not celebrate?
Absolutely. How much, given the fact that you've just mentioned there that they've perhaps got financially outmuscled at times over the last little while, how much of this is down to Dean Smith and what he has managed to do in terms of galvanising this group since football has resumed?
Well, I'm a big fan of Dean Smith. I thought he was outstanding at Brentford and Walsall, and I'm a big fan of his. And I think the break sort of helped him a little bit. I think if we didn't have lockdown, I think they would have just fizzled out, and they'd just been beaten by Leicester 4-0, ripped apart, and they probably would have just continued and got relegated. But with the break, it helped them, and fair play to put in the performances they did. They rode their luck with the Sheffield United goal. But, the last 4 results are absolutely phenomenal. But it's all about timing. You look at the fixtures and you think, these are hard fixtures. Villa need to get their points early doors. But you go to Everton, who've got nothing to play for, who are struggling. You play Crystal Palace, who are on a bad run, who were safe, had nothing to play for. You play Arsenal, who just had a massive FA Cup semi-final win against Man City that took a lot out of them. And then you look at it and you're thinking, the West Ham game could be a winner-takes-all. And West Ham had done their job, and it was a testimonial football match.
Yeah, it's been an incredible couple of weeks for them, really. How do you see the spending going then this summer? Because Ray Houghton was just saying that perhaps Aston Villa are better set financially than a lot of teams that might have been in a similar situation in the past. It's going to be all about Jack Grealish, no matter or not he stays put. But beyond that, is it a situation where if he goes, they then sign? Or they probably need to add assets on top of Jack Grealish were he to stay too?
Yeah, I mean, my first aim would be to sit down and try and get Jack Grealish to stay. I mean, he's a massive Villa fan. I think he ticks the boxes to stay. There's a lot of boxes to be ticked where he's going to play every week, at Aston Villa. It don't matter how bad he plays. Aston Villa will touch the ball at least 70 to 100 times a game. You go somewhere else, a big club, one, he's not assured of playing every week. It's not like the old days you get bought and you're going to play every week. One, he might not play every week, and two, he'll have to change his game, and he might touch the ball 30, 40, 50 times in a game instead of 100. So he's got to weigh that up. And I was fortunate enough to play at Aston Villa. It's a massive football club. Ray Houghton will tell you the same, but you're not going to win much at Aston Villa. That's the problem. But that's my main aim if I was a Villa if in charge at Villa, is to keep Jack Grealish.
Yeah, it's
and if they don't and they start getting 70, 80 million, don't go and buy 12 players for 5 million quid each. Go and buy a 50 million pound player if you can. I hate when teams do that. They sell someone for 70 odd million and then they buy 8 players for about 6 million each. I mean, that don't even add up to one player. So for me, if they do sell him, replace him with another superstar or another hero, I'd say.
Paul, we should talk about Arsenal as well and what they might need to do over the next little while. Obviously, this Saturday could be a huge moment in their season as well, even for the mood around the club going into next season. But if you kind of want to read into what happened yesterday, David Luiz has now given away 5 penalties in the Premier League this season, which is the most any player has ever conceded in a single campaign in the competition. Is that immediately where you're looking at, if you were writing the checks at Arsenal Football Club, that a central defender is an unbelievably high priority?
It is. it tells you everything about Arsenal. When you have to play three at the back, that means you haven't got any. Your centre halves are not that good. David Luiz is black or white. There's no grey areas. He's either a 9 out of 10 or he's a 4 out of 10. He's not going to give you a 7 out of 10 for 10 games on the trot. He's just not going to do it. But he might give you 4 games of 8 or 9 on the trot, but then he could easily give you 3 games on the trot of 4 out of 10. I don't think he's the major problem. I think, they need centre-halves. And as I say, when you're playing three at the back, you go through all the teams in the country that play at three at the back. That means they haven't got good enough defenders, or the manager doesn't trust the defenders. And that's why you have to play three at the back. So Arsenal would have to definitely buy a centre-half. They're looking at Stones. You hear they're looking at Stones. I mean, he's another one. On their day, top drawer, but got another 5 or 6 or 5 out of 10 in his bag every now and then. Which is, when you're playing at top clubs like Man City and Arsenal, you can't afford that.
How do you think Chelsea managed to win the league with 3 at the back a few years ago? Was that probably when the Premier League and its title challenging was at its weakest? Or
I'm not saying you can't win the league. No way. I've never said you can't win the league. Conte's a top manager, a clever manager. He watched Chelsea get ripped to shreds by Arsenal at the Emirates. And he looked at that game and he went, wow, we ain't good enough at the back, so I will have to play 3 at the back. They played 3 at the back and they went on and won the league. Now, that's great management. I'm not saying you can't win the league with 3 at the back. No, of course you can. But good managers like Conte, he see the problem at Chelsea, played 3 at the back and won the league. And David Luiz was outstanding. And he was outstanding. And he can be on his day. I said Arsenal should sign him up again. Because you don't play for Brazil. You don't win everything in the game if you can't play. Believe me.
How do you rate Mikel Arteta overall as a success story so far at Arsenal? Things there has been an upturn unquestionably over the past few months, but again, it's going to come back to this idea about not only does he have the backing of the board, which he says he does this summer, but actually how much are the board going to put the money where their mouth is?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put your money where your mouth is in this day and age. And I say that because Liverpool and Man City are so far ahead. I mean, if Arsenal, if the ball went to Arteta now, he owes 200 million, that still could not assure you of Champions League football next season. And that's a lot of money, 200 million. And this is the problem we have now. 200 million 4 or 5 years ago, because teams were quite level, there was a lot of level teams, would probably assure you of top 4 football. But it's hard to go and spend 200 million, then all of a sudden Arsenal comes 6th or 7th, which it wouldn't shock you with 200 million. So I like Arteta. I think he's outstanding. I think for the first time over the last month or so, I've watched Arsenal and thought, you know what, I know what they're doing here. I know what they're doing. They've got a plan. They're closing down together. They're playing at a high tempo. And you can see what Arteta's trying to do, and I like that. I like that. But is that going to give you top 4 football next season? It's going to be difficult. Chelsea have bought unbelievably well so far. They probably need another centre-half and a left-back. And then they're massive challengers. I think if Man United could probably go and get Harry Kane, if they went and put the boat out for 120 million or something, I think they become massive players as well. So next season's going to be really, really, really good because you look at it, Man City can't be worse than what they were this season, surely not. And Liverpool are just consistently good. So for me, next season's going to be massive.
Sticking with North London then, for next season, would you rather be a Tottenham fan or an Arsenal fan next season?
You're asking someone who played 14 years at Arsenal, who was at Arsenal for 14 years. So that's not a fair question. But if you was asking me as a neutral, I would probably say Tottenham would finish above Arsenal at the moment. I only say that because of the Aubameyang situation and Mourinho. I still think one of the best managers in the world of football. I just think Tottenham have got to buy into the way he plays. But as I say, in this day and age, Tottenham building a massive stadium, no fans allowed in at the moment. if Man United come in with an outrageous bid for Harry Kane, who's the best forward in the league, I don't see how they keep him. I just don't see how they keep him. So it could all change, you know what I mean? You know, Aubameyang hasn't signed yet. You know, everybody wants centre forwards. You know, and it doesn't matter how players are now, you know, 31, 32. You know, managers are buying players now for now. They're not buying them in 4 or 5 years' time because, let's be honest, these managers are not going to be at that club in 4 or 5 years' time. So they buy for the now, not for the future.
It's very true. Listen, Paul, thanks a million for taking the call this morning. Really appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Anytime, not a problem. Anytime.
Great stuff.
Everybody
Cheers, Paul.
Stay well. Bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Paul. Paul Merson there, formerly of Aston Villa and Arsenal, of course. And that is it from OTB AM this morning.